Segment, we are joined by Pastor Dimas. He is one of the producers of the documentary Emanuel, which features never-before-seen interviews with survivors and family members of the victims of the Emanuel AME church shooting in Charleston, South Carolina. We've got a trailer from that film. Let's play that real fast.
The bond hearing where Dylann Roof was put in front of the judge, it really was the first visual that we had of Dylan other than the security cameras that caught him.
The young man is a terrorist. What do terrorists want to do? They want to create fear and hopelessness. They want to spread hate. But he went to the wrong place. He went to church.
And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up.
The killer wanted to initiate a race war, and it was backed by hate. And so a year later, where are we today? So this is saying that hate won't win, truly, and that love conquers all.
You forgave the one who took your loved one's life. You essentially neutralized the power of hate in our nation.
This is as big as the parting of the Red Sea, as Lazarus coming back to life. What you have is an outright miracle. If you've ever doubted that there is a God, the unburnt streets of Charleston should tell you the truth.
I'll rise up.
Wow. Welcome, Pastor Dimas.
Oh, it's a joy to be here.
So I was struck by the use of the word terrorist in the trailer because so often our media doesn't call white people that shoot up large places terrorists. That's reserved for brown people.
Yeah.
Can you touch on that?
Yeah, wow, I'm so glad you brought that up because a few days ago, I think it was about a week ago, I was on Fox News describing the shooter that went into Thousand Oaks. I said, well, clearly this is terrorism. And they were like, over the microphone, don't call it a terrorist. I'm like, but if you look up the definition of terrorism, is a person that goes into a place to produce significant harm on people for a particular reason. And I said, wow, I said, if this isn't terrorism, what is? But wow, thank you. I'm so shocked that you said that.
Hey, we're an alternative to cable here.
Yeah, you guys are bold. We're doing bold TV.
Bold TV.
So I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, terrorism knows no race or gender. I mean, it's terrorism. And in the same way, love knows no race or gender. Love is universal. So I think that's what this film showed, and it was an honor for me to be able to go to the screening when you guys released it this week. And I was so moved by it. And I know you had the one lone survivor who Dylann Roof refused to kill because he said,
Polly Shepard.
Polly, and he said to her, I'm not going to kill you because you're here to tell the tale. And she was there at the screening, and she was powerful in what she said. So you were an early responder, basically. You came in as a pastor, and that's how you got all the access to make this film.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this at the screening that you and your team, you're also working with Viola Davis and Steph Curry, so you've got some major star power here. But you're not getting paid for any of this. This is all going to the families of the victims.
Yeah.
How are you supporting yourself, Pastor?
Well, one of the ways that I support myself is mainly public speaking. I travel, speak a lot. Also, we have a ministry called The Dynamic Life, so people invest and support there. But, you know, one of the things that we felt was really important is a lot of people make money off of others' sorrows. And that was one of the messages we didn't want to send. That this horrible incident happened that was very dear to my heart. I didn't go there to make a movie. I didn't have even thoughts of making movies at the time. It just was, my heart was impacted. And I said, what would the Apostle Paul do if he had a plane or trains or cars? I said, he would be there. And that's what drove my heart to catch the first flight there. My wife Tiffany went, my kids went. We had a whole little team that flew down just to serve. And when you understand what happened there, the entire leadership team was killed. So the bishops that were from the AME church were really working tirelessly on Obama's coming in. They were dealing with press and everything. So I had a laser focus. How could I minister and bring comfort to the families? And how could I minister in front of this church where there's thousands of people that don't know where to place their anger? And very quickly, when I was out there sharing, a white man came, put his head into my chest, started to weep, and he said, I'm a part of the Klan, but today I quit because of what I heard you say in the unity that I'm seeing out here.
Well, and the film also shows how in South Carolina they did bring the Confederate flag down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's shocking how long it took to do that. But what's the biggest takeaway that you want people to get from the film?
I think one of the biggest takeaways is that, you know, hate doesn't win. Now, I've been to many shootings around the country, and I understand that people are upset and angry and filled with bile and all kind of things. But one of the things that I realize is Charleston was not driven by hate. It was driven by forgiveness. And they got more results than any other shooting that I could point to. The person was caught in the first 48 hours. The person was convicted, first one on death row for a hate crime in the United States. The city didn't burn. I mean, there were people that were flying in. I didn't realize people fly in to set cities on fire. And I had to stand there with the mic and say, when people were spilling out hate and saying, hey, let's rally up, let's get excited. I told people in the South, let's just sing right now. You know, because in the South, they have better voices than anywhere else I could find. And when you get 2,000 people singing Amazing Grace, a lot of them walked away, you know, upset that they couldn't mobilize to start to attack police cars and other things. So a lot of agendas fly into these places, and we wanted to keep it as pure as we could and focused on what it's about, and that's the healing of the victims, as well as letting their stories and their narrative go forward, which was forgiveness in this situation.
Wow, that's really powerful. So can you talk about, besides the city coming together, have you seen your film or, you know, in your work with this issue, has that mobilized any legislative change in the area or on the federal level? I mean, I know we've not had any sensible gun control, but other issues legislatively?
Well, the families are approaching that in a huge way. I believe they had a lawsuit on the fact that they didn't do a proper background check on Dylan Ruth with him having those guns. But I haven't kept up with that. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I try to do as best I can is not get too caught up in politics. I keep my hat on. I'm a reverend. I'm a minister. I talk about Jesus. I talk about forgiveness. I talk about love. But, you know, I will say from my point of view, man, you know, I have friends that hunt, and I went with them. I didn't kill anything. I just am not a good hunter. but it was fun. It was powerful shooting off some gun that could, you know, blow and knock down an elephant possibly. But I think in cities like New York and some cities, I mean, for everyone to be able to arm up and walk the streets, and if they have a chip on their shoulder, they can just cut loose, is alarming to me. And I think, you know, what happened, even first responder to 1,000 Oaks, is he's basically a copycat killer. You know, he's angry, he's upset, he's dealing with all these issues, and let me go and pour my heart out and my anger on as many people as possible so I can live a life on media and on social media, and people will see that I'm real and I really needed help. So it's tough. I mean, to be so organized and so civilized of a country, we lock more people up and we kill more people than anywhere else, and that concerns me.
Well, I think, you know, the biggest cultural shift we saw was with Columbine, because before that, weapons have always been part of the American culture. From before the founding, the average home had however many guns or muskets, and it really became a cultural change. I think the acceptance of violence in our video games and mainstream culture, the glamorization of violence. Yeah. I think there are a lot of cultural forces that are more modern technology, allowing people to have, through social media, the way to glamorize this sort of vile, hateful behavior. I think there are a lot of forces that are behind this that a policy can't solve. You can't outlaw hate. Hate is something that's in the human heart, and the only thing that can change that is through culture.
Yeah, it can be tighter, though. You know, I was just spent the summer in Chicago doing a film there called Chicago, America's Hidden War, and 11-year-olds could tell you they can make a phone call and get a gun faster than they can get downtown to go shopping. And
11-year-olds had guns at the founding as well.
Yeah,
so it's not a matter of access, it's a matter of behavior and culture, in my opinion. But
our country,
and I'm not talking about legal guns. I'm talking about illegal guns.
But I mean, legal or illegal, 11-year-olds could always have access to guns in this country since before it was founded.
Yeah. But this
it's just
day
that there are
and
no
age
fathers in the
different.
homes anymore.
Yeah, this day and age, I mean, when you have gangs and you have all this kind of stuff going on, I would hope that would be a little tougher for them to be able to just get a weapon in their hands, but their minds are not even in a place of understanding the consequences of their actions. And I even had an 11-year-old tell me, she's older now, but she bought her first gun at age 11, and she bought it from a police officer. You know, and that was an illegal gun. So some stuff's got to be checked, and but it's complicated, you know.
Right.
And
well,
it's
just
very hard.
going back to the film, just because we'll wrap. In terms of the families, I was really struck by actually listening to their forgiveness. I remember reading about the accounts, but I hadn't actually heard them say. So to Dylan Roof, when he was there the first time that they had any interface with him, and the judge, it was a surprise. They didn't know this was going to happen. The judge allowed the families to directly speak to Dylan Roof, and they forgave him. And to hear their apologies, I'd never heard the audio of their apologies. It was jaw-dropping of how they were able to forgive, especially so quickly. And some people said that they were a sellout. Like, why would you do that? That's basically just, excusing away violence. What did the family say to people like that when they say, why did you do it? He should be punished, and why forgive so quickly?
Well, something supernatural happened in that courtroom where many of them have said they felt like, I mean, the first one that stood up, her name was Nadine Coller, and she got up and she was angry, she was upset, and she said something just felt like a presence took her over. And those words came out. So I think there was something supernatural that happened that within less than, 48 hours or 72 hours, somewhere around there, that you could have a heart to forgive. But some people looked at them and said, I just feel like, by doing that, you just excuse everything. No, I think many of them are also in the process of forgiveness. Jesus said we should forgive 490 times. And I realize what that means is there are people I have aught against. And I may forgive them one day, but the next day it bothers me. And I say, help me stay in this place of forgiveness. And then sometimes a week later, I'm like, help me. So many of them in the process, not all the families forgave, but something supernatural happened in that courtroom that cannot be denied. And I think go see the movie. It'll really explain more of how it all rolled out. And it's a movie that I think hits on various different points. Those that forgave, those that didn't forgive, progress, the history of violence that was going on in Charleston, why he chose that place, and many more things to come, and what's going on currently.
Yeah. Pastor Dimas, thanks so much for making the film, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. It's a joy and honored to be on Bold TV. Y'all are doing a great job.